Drake buried his album release date inside a block of ice and paid someone $100,000 to find it. That's not a marketing stunt. That's a statement. That's a man who has spent the last 2 years being called finished, being called exposed, being called a ghostwriter fraud, telling the entire industry he's still the one setting the rules. May 15th, 2026, ICEMAN drops. And before a single song is even out, this album is already one of the most loaded releases in rap history. Because it's not just music, it's Drake's answer. To Kendrick, to the blogs, to the people who switched sides when things got hard, to everyone who counted him out. Let's get into all of it. A 25-foot ice sculpture, downtown Toronto, the release date buried inside it. Drake didn't post a flyer, didn't drop a trailer, didn't go on a podcast to announce it. He put the date inside a melting block of ice in the middle of his city and waited for someone to find it. A streamer named Kishka found it, retrieved the date, and was reportedly handed $100,000 for doing it. Think about what that actually communicates. Drake didn't need a press release. He created an event. He made the announcement itself into content. By the time Kishka pulled that date out of the ice and the clip spread everywhere, every single person in rap was already talking about ICEMAN before 1 second of music existed. That's not an accident. That's someone who understands attention better than almost anyone in this industry. And it set the tone immediately. This album is not going to be quiet. This album is not going to be apologetic. The man who came out of the Kendrick war looking battered is not tiptoeing back. He's walking back in through the front door with a $100,000 handshake and a melting countdown clock. Before the album even has a release date stamped in the public's mind, a track title is already leaking into conversations. What did I miss? Drake addressing the Kendrick feud directly, but not the way people expected. He's not going after Kendrick again. He's going after the people who were supposed to be in his corner and weren't. The ones who played both sides. The ones who publicly stayed neutral while privately distancing themselves. The industry people, the fellow artists, the commentators who waited to see which way the wind was blowing before they picked a lane. That's a specific kind of anger, and it's actually more interesting than another back and forth with Kendrick, because Kendrick versus Drake was a two-man war on the surface, but underneath it, it exposed an entire ecosystem of people who refused to stand next to Drake when things got real. People who had benefited from being in his world, from his features, from his cosigns, from his label infrastructure, who went completely silent the moment standing with him had a cost. What Did I Miss isn't a diss track in the traditional sense. It's a receipts track, a roll call of absences. And in some ways, that's more damaging because it doesn't just target one person, it targets a behavior. And everyone who behaved that way knows exactly who they are. Now here's where it gets spicy. Joe Budden, who at this point has become one of the most influential voices in rap commentary, whether people want to admit it or not, is predicting that Drake uses ICEMAN to go after J. Cole. Not Kendrick, Cole. And the moment that prediction started circulating, the entire conversation shifted. Because think about what J. Cole represents in this specific story. Cole dropped a verse on Euphoria, the Kendrick diss, early in the beef. Then he pulled back, he apologized, he removed himself from the conflict publicly and said he didn't want to be part of it. At the time, a lot of people respected that, called it mature, called it the high road. Drake apparently did not see it that way. If Budden's read is right, and Budden has been wrong before, but he also has sources inside these circles that most commentators don't, then Drake sees Cole's exit as abandonment, as someone who fired a shot, saw the temperature of the room, and then walked back out and left Drake standing there alone. A diss aimed at Cole on ICEMAN would be one of the most seismic moments in rap in years, because Cole is universally respected. Cole has no real enemies. Cole is the guy everyone agrees is solid. Going after Cole wouldn't just be beef, it would be Drake telling the entire industry nobody gets a pass. Not even the people everyone likes. Strip away the ice sculpture. Strip away What Did I Miss? Strip away the Joe Budden prediction. ICEMAN is Drake's 9th studio album, and it arrives at a moment where his legacy is genuinely being debated in a way it never was before. The Kendrick situation did something that years of criticism couldn't do. It made people question the foundation. Not just the ghostwriting accusations, those had been floating for years, but the authenticity question, the culture question, whether Drake was ever really embedded in rap the way he claimed, or whether he was always a visitor who learned to speak the language perfectly. Not Like Us didn't just win a battle, it planted a flag on that specific argument and danced on it in front of 90,000 people at Kia Forum. So ICEMAN isn't just album 9, it's Drake's answer to the biggest question his career has ever faced. And the ice sculpture, the $100,000, what did I miss, the potential cold diss, all of it is telling you the same thing. He's not answering that question quietly. He's not making a humble, introspective record designed to win critics back. He's going loud, he's going sharp, he's going on offense. One more thing that's getting overlooked. He didn't bury the release date in Los Angeles. He didn't do it in New York. He did it in downtown Toronto. After a period where his Canadian roots were used against him, where the narrative became that he was never really hood, never really street, never really from the culture the way Kendrick is from Compton, Drake planted his flag in his own city. Toronto found the date. A Toronto streamer got the 100,000. The announcement belonged to his city first before it belonged to anyone else. That's intentional. Everything Drake does at this level is intentional. He's going into ICEMAN as Toronto's artist, not apologizing for where he's from, not trying to prove he's something else, leaning directly into the identity that got weaponized against him, and saying, this is where I'm from and this is where I'm winning from. May 15th is close, the ice is melting, the clock is running, and with every day between now and that release date, the pressure and the speculation and the conversation is only going to build. What Did I Miss is going to land on people who know exactly what they did. The Cole situation is going to dominate rap Twitter the second any hint of it surfaces on the album. And Drake, whether you're riding with him or not, is going to remind this industry why ignoring him was never actually an option. 9 albums in, back against the wall, ice sculpture in Toronto. He's not done. Subscribe to Weirdly Interesting. We'll be covering ICEMAN the moment it drops. And drop a comment below. Do you think Drake actually disses J. Cole on this album? Or is Joe Budden just stirring the pot?